Just want to clarify because I figured out what that meant in that moment. I'm dead.
I was like, what the heck is STLs?
STL.
Hello and welcome to the Rankers Podcast, the podcast where we rank anything and everything, no categories, no genre, just two best friends ranking whatever they can think of. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Nick. Let's rank them.
Let's rank them. Let's
get
go. Welcome to episode 2
of
the Rankers Podcast. We've made it all the way here. Hopefully you're with us, and hopefully we've got some new people listening this go around.
Yeah.
If you didn't check our first episode out, if you're an Office fan, go check it out. It's the top 10 Office episodes. We had a lot of fun making that one.
We did. That was a ton of fun, dude. I think we learned a lot about each other and more of The Office. I know I learned more about The Office.
Definitely.
And some hot takes.
Makes me want to watch it more, too.
Yeah, it actually does.
So, Nick, what are we ranking today?
So today we are going to be ranking the top 10 point guards in the NBA of all time.
Of all time. That's very important. For hopefully we're going to get some sports junkies on here.
Yeah,
that's part of the reason why we did this podcast is we want to reach a bunch of different demographics.
Yeah, and who knows, we might even have some current players and some players from way back when.
Yeah.
We'll
see what pops up on the list. We're going to get to that here in a little bit. But look, hey, if you're joining us for the first time, please hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
Leave us a review. Rate us, whatever platform you're listening to us on. It helps us so much with growing our audience and reaching more people, and we would super duper appreciate it if you would share our podcast. Tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, whoever. Please help us out in that way.
Yeah, and we want to hear from you guys. So if you guys have a different opinion than us, then let us know. Or if you agree with us, let us know. And in the forums of that, we have an Instagram, the Rankers Podcast.
Yep.
You can look us up there where we'll be posting, stuff about our podcast as a whole. You might see some photos of us if you want to see what our room looks like, all those good things. And then we also are going to have a Twitter.
Yep.
And then we're also going to have a YouTube where, who knows, YouTube Shorts is pretty big right now. So maybe we post some funny clips from our podcast.
Well, and if for some reason you're not able to listen to the podcast on a platform that releases podcasts,
right,
our episodes will actually be released on YouTube just in audio form. So that's another way that you can listen to us, and you just look up the Rankers Podcast on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we'll come up. Hey, guys, also, you can email us and talk to us. You can also, the great thing about Instagram is you can just DM us and talk to us if you want. But if you don't want to do that, you're welcome to email us and let us know your thoughts. We'd love to know your lists. We'd love to know what you would rank the top 10 Office episodes. And then this week, we would want to know what you would rank the top 10 point guards of all time. So get with us. You dig?
I dig. And like you said, we want to, we have a list of already, 50 things that we've written down that we want to talk about. But, maybe we might scratch some of them and maybe you guys come up with something better.
Yes,
so
definitely.
If you guys want to hear us rank something that means something to you or that you want to hear, then maybe we can do it. Do some speed rounds here too.
Yeah, and we would love to dedicate that episode to you. Honestly, if that's something you're super passionate about. If it's something you know a lot about, honestly, hit us up. We might be able to get you as a guest or something like that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I don't know. We're open to all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, we really are.
So we're excited for that. But hopefully in the future episodes, guys, as you start interacting with us more, we're wanting to put a couple different segments on the episode where we can interact with you more. But early on right now, we're just going to get into it.
Mm-hmm. So top 10 point guards.
Top 10 point guards of all time.
So I started last in our first episode.
You did. So
I was thinking maybe you could start us off with this episode.
Yeah, so
I was just going to say I wanted to know how maybe some of your criterias. Is it the point guards shooting? Is it their passing? Is it their basketball IQ? Is it how many championships they have? Was there any certain things you kind of looked at? Did you look at as a whole their leadership? All those aspects is what I looked at.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't disagree with any of that. I
Okay.
looked at all of those things as a whole.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult, especially nowadays in the NBA. It's very difficult not to look at the number of rings somebody has.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. Obviously, that's the GOAT debate, right? And so
Right.
so I did keep that in account, but I also looked at their overall dominance in the position, and also one of the big things that I paid attention to was the way that they affected the game. Not only when they played, but the ripple effect if they played a long time ago, the ripple effect that they've had now that they've left their mark in the NBA. Still today, and they have been the inspiration for some of the greatest players that we have today playing currently. And so those were some of the criteria. Really, I agree with everything you said. I went off of that as well. One thing I want to make a note of before we get into it, and me and you actually talked about this off the air, but there are a couple players who were point guards and shooting guards.
Yes.
Some people consider, a great example is some people consider James Harden a point guard.
Right.
We do not.
Yeah.
So this is not only what they're listed as, but what they played the most as. And I think we have one big one.
I think much like how we did the first episode with honorable mentions, we can have maybe a couple of honorable mentions of guys that were more the shooting guards, like a LeBron James, but also
Right.
brought the ball up half the time.
Yeah, like
know.
Luka is he's really a point guard.
Yeah.
The way that
Yeah.
he plays the game, and LeBron is as well.
Yeah.
But I do want to get one big one out of the
Mhm.
way before we go through the list, because some of you might be waiting on it. But I believe that me and you agreed on this,
Mhm.
Nick. But one of the biggest ones is we did not consider Jerry West
Yeah.
to be a point
Mr.
guard on this list. We might get some disagreements from that.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's just when me and Nick did our research, that's what we agreed on. So if you were waiting to hear from that one, if he
Mhm.
was a point guard, I can promise you he would be in my top 10.
Yes, most definitely. He was in my top 10, but we decided not to do that.
Yeah. So
Um,
with that out of the way, all of the quote-unquote rules and criteria, I think we can go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. So, what makes a point guard, man? The one who brings up the ball. Is he the best dribbler? Is he the best director of the team? I don't know, man. You tell me. What's
All
your
of
number
the
10?
above. So let's go ahead and get into it. So my number 10 greatest point guard of all time
Yep, of all time.
is Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, so Kyrie Irving he still plays, obviously, and when I think about him being the 10th best point guard of all time, let me tell you a couple of the reasons that I think. Number one, he does have a ring. It was with LeBron, so that there's definitely something to be said about that. But listen, here's the thing. I based this pick of my number 10 really off of the way that Kyrie Irving's skill has affected the game. I think skill-wise, just with the way that he's able to handle the ball, the way that he's able to shoot the ball, you don't get much better than Kyrie Irving's raw skill in basketball. I do think that he has the greatest handles of all time.
That's what I was going to say.
I think he has the greatest handles of all time. I think that's the one category where he beats out every other player
Numero
ever.
uno for it. Okay.
And
That's kind of a
so,
hot take.
yeah, I think I could get some disagreements there. I made this pick really based off of his current skill, the way that he's affected the game. If you watch him, when the dude is on, he's on.
Yeah.
And so that is why Kyrie Irving is my number 10 point guard of all time. Do you have any thoughts on that one, Nick?
I was just going to mention his handles. Everyone,
Yeah.
Kyrie's dribbling and handle skill and breaking them ankles that's what when I think of Kyrie, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree.
He would have probably been higher on my list, quite honestly. If
I
it
thought he
hadn't
would be,
been-
honestly.
If it hadn't been for Boston, I think his run with Boston was it showed, because I think it's no secret that Kyrie
What is he up to
going
currently?
to Boston was very much him wanting to win without LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
And he obviously had bad chemistry with his teammates and everything, and he just
Mhm.
didn't play up to his full potential. Him being with the Nets now, other than him like flaking out randomly,
Nets.
which is kind of
That's
annoying,
right.
but it's whatever he wants. When he is on,
Poor KD, man.
when Kyrie Irving is out there 100%, he's hard to beat.
Yeah.
And so that's why Kyrie's my number 10.
Yeah, I think Kyrie would be a great number 10 or top 15 potentially.
Okay, so Nick, what is
So
your
my
number
number
10?
10 is Jason Kidd.
Wow.
Jason Kidd is number 10. He's a Hall of Famer, 10-time All-Star. Dude is nasty. Jason Kidd has the stats.
He's got a ring as well.
He does. He does have a ring. His career, 8.7 assists, 12.6 points, and 1,391 baskets.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's Hall of Famer worthy for me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think he's going to turn out to be a really good coach as well. I think
Yeah.
he's getting there. Going back and watching some of his highlights, he's going to come up again. So I won't say too much, but
Gotcha.
going back and watching some of his highlights, he
Mhm.
was really incredible. And the way that he was able to continue playing as he got older
Mhm.
was really incredible as well.
Yeah, so Jason Kidd was my number 10.
That's great.
Yeah,
Number 9.
number 9.
Shall we? All right, my number 9 is also another current player. He is currently still a point guard in the National Basketball Association. My number 9 is Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook does not have a ring,
He
which
does
was
not.
a big part of it. He doesn't have a ring. He's gotten close, but he hasn't made it quite that far. I don't super duper love his attitude as just a guy.
He's an emotional player.
But here's what I'm going to say. And I'm going to say it, and we can honestly move on.
Yeah,
Triple-double king.
triple-double king.
He's got it. He's the best now. His intensity, his athleticism, when he's on, he's on. He's so many
Dude,
the
his
way that
athleticism.
yeah. The way that he's able to change the way that the court moves when he steps on it, like when he's off the bench,
Right.
when he comes off or whatever. The difference in the way that the team functions when he's sitting on the bench and when he's on the court is insane. Russell Westbrook is a really great player. I think that he will probably get a ring at some point.
Yeah?
But
He's
he's
on
just,
the Wizards right now, right?
yeah, he's on the Wizards. He's got an MVP, and in this era as a point guard, that's impressive to me.
It is
That's
impressive.
definitely impressive, and he's
It
just
is.
really aggressive, and that's why Russell Westbrook is my number 9.
Yeah. So my number 9 is Russell Westbrook.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, I can just elaborate on him a little bit more. Dude can dunk the basketball for a point guard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And in the era that we are in, with how much shooting is going on, you got D Booker, you got the Curry man, you got all these guys, the new Trae Young, all
Yeah.
these young guys who are just shooting threes from the logo,
Right.
And then you got Russell Westbrook, who's also playing that same position as those guys, but that man is dunking over people.
Yeah, and his ability to get to the basket
Right.
and move
It's-
people out of his way
Right.
is
It's
terrifying.
It's impressive for a point guard.
And I
So-
like the kind of attitude he has where he's very clear about the fact that he's like, I'm not here to be your friend. I don't want any friends in this game. Like, I want to win.
Throw some popcorn at me, see what happens, man.
Yeah, dude. I don't know why you would pick him out of all people.
Dude,
I'd be
my
throwing popcorn at
goodness.
like Kyle Korver or
Yeah,
something.
right.
But yeah, so your number 9.
Yeah, is Russell. So I mean, his career stats is 23.2 points, and then 8.5 assists.
Yeah.
And with 943.
Yeah.
Baskets. So we both had the same number 9. Interesting. I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
That Russell would make the list and be towards the bottom. He's still got some work to be done, like you said. He can. You said you see a ring in his future. So dude.
I think if he gets on the right team with the right teammate, I don't know if the
Yeah.
Wizards. I don't know if that's going to be the organization to do it, but he definitely has the potential to lead a team, and he can also play really really clutch, which I like.
Yeah.
So my number 8.
Number 8.
We'll go ahead and get to it. My number 8 has already been listed. My number 8 is Jason Kidd.
Interesting.
And I had
Yeah.
him a little bit higher on the list
Than I
over Kyrie and Russell. But I do know that he is second in career assists. He's second, I think, behind Stockton.
Yeah.
And so that's a really big accomplishment. Just for his size and his athletic ability, what he was able to do with some of those things holding him back, I feel like.
Right.
We've already talked about him, but that is why I had him a little bit higher. I think he's had more of an effect on the game than Russell and Kyrie, just based off of my list.
Yeah.
in my opinion. So that's why I've got Jason Kidd at number 8.
Nice. So my number 8 is Mr. Current in the NBA Finals, Chris Paul, CP3.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had him at number 8. Chris Paul, man, I like Chris Paul. I got the love for Chris Paul.
For sure.
I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great basketball player. I think he's a leader. Right now, he's playing for the Phoenix Sun in the finals, and so I think that he's kind of playing more of a veteran role for them, and he's kind of, he's dishing dimes right now. So CP3, my guy, is a stat king. He's an 11-time All-Star, 9.4 assists, and then he's also got 18.3 points. And just going off of this guy, I don't know. I'm a big Chris Paul fan. Kind of like what you mentioned about being fans of players. I would be a fan of CP3. His whole State Farm thing and the presence that he has in the media as well is strong. And I think that he's a leader, man. He's a veteran. And I think he deserves the right to be in a top 10.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you that my number 7 is Chris Paul.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and say my number 7 is Chris Paul. I agree with everything you said. I think a big thing for me with Chris Paul, obviously he doesn't have a ring. If you're listening to this later on, he might have one.
Yeah,
he might not. I don't know.
We're recording this right now as Phoenix is up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah. So I'm hoping I want the Suns to win, so I'm hoping he will have one. Here's the thing about Chris Paul that's so apparent to me. The way that he affects the team that he's on, the way that he changes, the way that it's my personal opinion that what DeAndre Ayton has been able to do this season is because of Chris Paul and his effect that he's had on him as a leader. I think the way that Chris Paul leads a team, the way that he takes a team, he almost single-handedly beat the Rockets last year, which was really impressive with OKC because he really didn't have any help except for SGA with OKC. Just the way that he's able to affect, and honestly, I had him lower on my list, and then during these playoffs, he has jumped up higher because he's just, especially game 1 of if you're currently watching game 1 of the finals, he's
dishing dimes, man.
He was insane, and honestly, he did really well with game 2. But game 1 in particular, just the way that he's playing the game, the way that he leads, the way that he's affected the game, he's definitely one of the top 10 greatest point guards of all time.
Especially with where we are at right now in the playoffs, it's been all about Booker and his 40 points.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, now we're getting the semis and stuff, and now it's been all about CP3.
Like he's like up for the votes or whatever for MVP.
It's like, so. I mean, not that Devin's not scoring his 40 points, but man, CP3's kind of taking it over.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if Devin gets where he is without CP3, obviously, in this series. So
I would agree.
That is my number 7, Chris Paul. What is your number 7?
My number 7 is somebody I unfortunately never got to see, is Oscar Robertson.
Wow.
Hall of Famer. 12-time. Mr. Big O, Ozzy. They also called him Mr. Triple Double as well.
He was the OG triple double.
He is the OG.
Yeah. Jason Kidd, we didn't mention, also was a triple double guy for sure.
Everyone gets triple doubles in the top 10s, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, dude, career stats: 1,040, 25.7 points, and then 9.5 assists. That's some crazy stats right there.
Yeah.
That man is just shy of 10 assists.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
Yeah, for his career and the way that he was able to sustain some of the things, and I think he's probably the closest size-wise to Magic Johnson that any point guard has ever been.
6'5", 205.
They were that is insane.
Yeah.
As a point guard.
As a point guard.
Because a lot of people consider Steph Curry is a tall point guard. He's like 6'3".
Yeah.
And so, just as a point guard, just towering over dudes. Oscar Robertson, I mean, what the Big O? He's incredible.
Yeah, he 1971 NBA champ, 3-time MVP.
Yeah.
So the guy's got it.
He's 11-time All NBA too, which was a big deal. And I think a lot of people have him probably in their top 10 greatest players of all time. And so, luckily, that's not our list right now, but that's a good number 7.
Yeah,
right there.
solid number 7.
I'll
So
agree.
you're on to 6 now, correct?
Yeah, I am. My number 6 is John Stockton. John Stockton, another one that never won a ring. Unfortunately, he never won a ring, and I think that a lot of people nowadays have agreed that, at the end of the day, an L is an L. But he was going up against Michael Jordan every
Yeah.
single time, just
Yeah.
about. And so him and Karl Malone just, especially after this past year watching the Last Dance or whatever and seeing a lot of that, because we obviously
I haven't
weren't.
seen The Last Dance
You
yet,
need to
dude.
watch The Last
Yeah.
Dance. It's super good.
I do
But,
need to
we
watch
weren't
Last
around
Dance.
to watch those games and everything. We have to look at highlights and stuff like that. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say that John Stockton is number 6 on the list solely because of his ability to dish the basketball. It was insane. And he wasn't like, he had some flashy stuff, definitely. He wasn't like super flashy with the way that he played the game. And he has 2, not only was his assist levels amazing, but his steal levels were also incredible. He's got 2 records. He leads 2 records for steals and assists that still haven't been broken. And so just a really, really great, I think really exemplifies what it means to be a point guard.
Yeah.
And a lot of the current point guards have taken sort of what he was able to build, being one of those guys who just dished it so much and has really run with it. But it wouldn't have happened without Stockton for me. That's why he's number 6 for me.
So my number 6 would be Steve Kerr. That might be surprising. That could be a hot take.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Steve Kerr was a great player. He has 5 NBA champs. That's 5 right next to who.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that goes to say I think a lot of people probably only want to talk about MJ and what he did, but let's not talk about who was bringing up the ball.
Right.
So that's why Steve Kerr made my list. Is just those NBA champs, man.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good reason to have him on the list. I'll go ahead and tell you he's not on mine.
Yeah,
but
I think it was a hot take, but that was the reason
Yeah.
why I went with him.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
he doesn't
interested-
have the 9 assists.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near there, but my man was a 5-time NBA champ, and I think you can't overlook that.
I think what intrigues me the most about that pick is I'm interested to see who you took off and who's not on your list now. I'm interested to see what your top 5 is now.
Yeah.
But we'll get to it. So Steve Kerr, I can't argue with the 5 rings, dude. You can't.
Yeah.
And what he's been able to do as a coach as well. He's a player's coach, dude.
Yeah.
He's so good, and so
I would agree.
I like that pick.
You have to lie to me, Jacob.
No, I'm good. I don't. It's not my pick, but I don't hate the pick.
Heard.
But all right, so
So you're.
Are we in the top 5?
We're
now?
in top 5.
Yeah.
my number 5, I'm just gonna go ahead and say could probably be number 4 or number 3, depending on the day that you ask me. I think he can jump up a little bit. I just think this dude is incredible. My number 5 greatest point guard of all time is Steve Nash.
Steve
And
Nash.
what Nash was able to do was just absolutely insane. I'm going to say the point guard thing again. He's a 2-time MVP as a point guard, which I just think, unless you're Steph Curry, it's crazy to me. He's a 2-time MVP. Going back and watching some of his highlights, watching the way that he played the game, some of the greatest passes of all time. The intensity that he played with.
I feel like when I think of Steve Nash, I think of a bloody nose.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. He was intense, man, and the way that he was able to go head to head with like Kobe. People forget there's a lot of great Nash versus Kobe matchups, and just the way that he was able to play and the way that he was able to dish it. And those 2 MVP trophies that he got, man, those seasons were absolutely insane. And at his size and his athletic ability, he should not be a 2-time MVP. But he broke down so many barriers and just was able to do stuff that arguably I think we haven't seen since a lot of the stuff that he's done. So that's why Steve Nash is my number 5.
Nice. So my number 5 is Isaiah Thomas.
Wow.
From the Detroit Pistons.
Okay.
Yeah. Isaiah Thomas is a Hall of Famer, 12-time All-Star. He is a 2-time NBA champ and then 5-time All-NBA, which is, also something meaningful. 9.3 assists, 19.2 points, and then 979 goals. And one thing I like about this dude is that he played for the Detroit Pistons his whole career.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys can say that they played for one team their whole entire career.
Especially having to play Michael so many
Especially
times.
having to play Michael and still coming away with 2 NBA champs.
Right.
You know, he was
Yeah.
in the Michael era. The Pistons as a whole, man, that team was no joke.
That was dirty, dude.
They were. Didn't they have a nickname of being dirty players? What was their nickname?
I can't remember
You know
what
what
the
I'm talking about?
nickname was, but you really need to go watch The Last Dance because you get a lot of insight.
Would I?
One of the things that their coach was honest, and he would say, "Look, I want you to go out there and injure Michael."
And injure Michael.
Like straight up, he needs to be gone.
I need to
Whatever
watch
it
The Last
takes, like
Dance.
Avengers Endgame style, just whatever it takes. Take this
Dude.
man out.
But Isaiah didn't have that kind of mentality, though. I mean,
He was cutthroat though.
he was cutthroat, but he seemed, I don't know. Again, man, I wish I got to see some of these guys play.
I know.
It's so sad.
The
We're
list
going
almost
off of
feels
our stats and,
right.
and-
Yeah, the list almost
and
feels
documentaries.
I feel very unqualified.
Yeah,
even
I'm starting to
do
feel that
this.
way too.
But at some point, I think we'll do a list of like current point guards, which will be a completely different list.
Yeah.
And so we'll be able to talk of what we've seen in our lifetime. But just seeing the effect that Isaiah has still had on the game,
Yeah.
that's a great pick.
Yeah, and that is why he made my top 5. So we're now within the top 5. You're on your top 4.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and
Number
tell you, my number 4 is Isaiah Thomas. Yeah,
Great.
so we've already said, obviously, a good bit about him. The only other thing that I would want to say is just that his defense was just astounding. He was just a nightmare on defense. He could guard anybody. What he was able to do with his stats, with steals and everything was just and not only being in the era of Michael, but being a point guard, being a noticeable point guard in the era of Magic
Yeah.
is
Dude,
that's insane.
what a time.
What a time, right? And just
I-
what a horrible time to be a point guard if you have to go up against Magic all the time.
Yeah.
And
And still making everybody's top 10 list.
making everybody's top 10 list. And I think he's probably the most fearless player that I've ever watched, even just watching his highlights, obviously. But he wasn't scared of anybody.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why I had Russell on my list. Like when
Have that same.
Isaiah Thomas is out on the floor, he genuinely believes that he's the best player that's on the court, no matter who he's up with. Another reason, we'll get to this one day, another
Russell
reason why
definitely
I love
thinks that.
Russell, and another reason why I love Trae Young, because I think Trae Young has that as well,
Dude.
but we won't get to that. He's on my number 1. I'm just kidding. No,
Dude,
but Isaiah Thomas.
that would be a hot take.
That would be a yeah. We wouldn't be able to go on.
Yeah.
But we talked at nauseum about Isaiah. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my number 4.
So my number 4 is also somebody we've already talked about, John Stockton.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
higher up.
Yeah, just a little bit higher up than you. Again, you kind of talked about what he did, so I'll just go ahead and highlight some of his stats, as it's kind of been my role so far. 11-time All-NBA, 10-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, MVP for 92 to 93, 10.5 assists. That, I mean, I know just being a point guard.
Career, right?
Yeah, career.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I know just, and then also, you know, how I mentioned playing on the same team. He played for Utah the whole time, so
Yeah.
also dope. But yeah, man, I know being a point guard, assists tends to be your thing a little bit, but dude, that's such a high number. That's crazy.
Well, he started that though. Like I think that's really what you can say about
Yeah.
John Stockton is the reason nowadays that we go like assists is your thing as a
Yeah.
point guard. John Stockton
Stockton's
was
the
the
one who did
genesis
that.
of that.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
great.
yeah.
He's a little higher up for you than he is for me,
Yeah.
but that's a great pick.
Yeah. So top 3, dude.
We're in the top 3. We're mowing through this.
We are
thing.
mowing through this. It's again, like you said, I think we'll be able to talk more about players that we get to currently watch.
Right.
But yeah, so
I have a feeling who your top 2 are going to be. Ours are probably going to be similar. I'm really, really interested to
Wait.
see who 3 is going to be for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Who do you think it is?
I'm not going to guess
Why?
because I'm just going to wait and see.
Okay.
Because my number 3 has already been said. Oscar Robertson is my number 3.
Yeah.
You spouted off some of his stats
Yeah, I did.
earlier, but I mean the big O dude. I've
O.
already sort of talked about him, but I think he's the closest thing to Magic that we've had. I'm not saying that as overall, because obviously my number 2 and my number 1 are different. That, Oscar isn't those, but what Oscar was able to do and the way that he was able to play, and just looking back at some of his stats, and look, I'm going to be honest with you and say that we're going a lot off of highlights and stats because, like Nick said, we weren't able to watch these guys play, but his effect on the game is almost unmatched, especially with his position. And watching some of his highlights, the way he just moved dudes around, like dudes were just terrified to play against Oscar Robertson.
Did you look at a lot of highlights for some of the players that you chose?
I looked at it, yeah.
Yeah,
I did. I looked at a good few, and so. But anyway, we talked about it a good bit. But Oscar Robertson, he's a little bit higher up for me, just based off of the championships, the MVPs, his defensive ability too as a point guard, just because of his size, and. One of probably the most athletic basketball players ever, still currently today. We have a lot of great athletes today.
Bold statement.
But he was just very, very athletic, Olympic type dude. So that's my number 3, Oscar Robertson.
Yeah. So my number 3 is the Brooklyn Nets head coach.
Yeah.
You saw that coming?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So my man Steve Nash is my number 3. Dude. The 2-time MVP. I know I'm listing a lot of stats, but with guys that I know a little bit better, I'm able to look at their stats, but also look at the impact that they've made on the NBA and their leadership, like I mentioned earlier, and just their basketball IQ. And Steve Nash had all of that.
Yeah, you can't get much with basketball IQ. You don't go much better than Nash.
Yeah, Steve Nash is a 10 out of 10 on basketball IQ. But yeah, so that's my number 3. What's your number 2, Jacob?
All right, going along. My number 2, I have a feeling that
we might have the same number 2.
We might have the same number 2, but my number 2 is Steph.
My
Steph
number
Curry.
2 is also Steph Curry, so we can talk about him together.
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about him together. Steph, I'll just go ahead and say this. I don't think this is heavily debated anymore, but the greatest shooter of all time. I personally think that it's a lot less close than some people argue.
I think he's the purest shooter of all time.
You don't think he's the best? What?
I think he's the top. He's at the top.
Okay. But you can't. Why won't you definitively say that he's the best?
I don't know.
Why are you
There's
having
just
a hard
something
time
holding
saying?
me back.
What?
Because
who's
when
around him?
when I hear the word best in like best shooter, best player, like I just like the argument always goes to, are we talking about Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Right.
And I think Steph Curry is like in that 3 to 5 on everybody's best list.
But we're talking about shooter.
I know we're talking about shooter.
So like, who would you have above him or around him? Who do you think comes close?
As far as shooting goes,
I'm just curious now. You've done this. You've said this.
I've done this.
I just did a bad thing.
Yeah, you did a bad thing.
The fact
I'm
that
at a loss for words.
Okay, yeah. See,
I'm at a loss for words. Yeah.
I can't agree with you. If you can't definitively say that he's the greatest shooter of all time, I have a little bit of an issue with that.
Because when I think of best shooter, I think of shooter from all aspects. I can lay up, I can hit the mid range.
Okay, so he's the best 3-point shooter of all time.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Okay, I would still say he's the best shooter.
Okay,
but yes, he's most definitely the best 3-point shooter.
Okay,
of all time.
yeah, for sure, no question.
The spots that dude gets on the court, with the amount of traffic. I mean, we don't. You guys know he's insane. But shooting aside, also, I think why I have him this high on the list is because obviously the rings, the MVPs.
And he's not done.
He's not. Oh,
Chef Curry is not done.
No, he's not done. The way that he is able to get his entire team involved. Let me just say that nobody else should have stats on a team with Steph Curry because he can do it all. But he somehow is able to get with Steph Curry on the court, like Clay is able to drop like 60 in a game or something stupid like that, and he's just incredible.
Dude, I went to a game. A Hawks game against Golden State.
Really?
It was 2-3 years ago when Golden State was a lot better than they are right now.
Yeah.
And I just remember watching Steph and Clay go back and forth and like it would. Okay, maybe best shooter of all time.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. But dude, I just remember being so amazed. Like I've never seen like any basketball better than that. And
Yeah.
I've been to many Hawks games. Not that I've seen every best player, but I've seen a lot of the current NBA players at games, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was one of the best games I've ever attended.
Yeah, and like I said, Steph can really do it all. I think he's obviously highlighted as a shooter, but the way he can dish the ball, the way he gets his team involved, he's an underrated defensive player. I think because of his size, I think he matches up really well against other point guards.
Yeah, he's 6'3".
He is clutch, to say the least. He's just disgusting with some of the spots that he can get on the court, like I said. And he does not – one of the things I love about him is he does not roll over and show his belly to LeBron James. He's not scared of him.
Yeah.
I think he respects who LeBron is, but I think he knows that he can beat him. He has before.
I was gonna say I think they showed that with an NBA ring.
Yeah, and I think he'll now. I think he'll do it again, and somehow was able to have a better record without KD than with him. I just want to say that somehow, but that's Steph Curry for you.
Do you think he'll ever leave Golden State?
No,
No.
I don't think he will. I think he's
Ever.
a lifer. Yeah,
You think he is?
I think he is. I could be wrong, but I think he knows
At this
that.
point, it was 2009. This is 2021.
Wow.
He's been with Golden State since 2009.
It's about that time. If he does leave, it would be
Yeah.
around now. But I think he knows that he can, once he gets Clay back, and I think they're going to get somebody else in there that'll be really good down low. And, we can talk about all that. But I think he'll definitely win a ring again. I think he'll win in Golden State. I think Steve Kerr is a great coach. I think it's a great organization. People want to see them win.
Curry had 32 points average this past season.
Oh, yeah. He's the leading scorer. It was either him or Beal. I think it was him, though.
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah,
won MVP with the team that he had.
Yeah,
Come on.
2-time MVP, dude. 3-time NBA champ. He's already a Hall of Famer, and he's not done.
No, he's not. I don't think he's close to done.
Number 1.
Ding, ding, ding. I don't know, you just did a little hand motion. I didn't really know.
a wand.
Oh, like a wand.
Get
yeah.
it? Like a-
Number one for me is most definitely Rajon Rondo. No, number one. Honorable mention.
Chill. Honorable mention, though.
Nick, what's our number one?
Our number 1 is Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson.
You want to hear what may be a hot take?
Is that not your number 1?
No, it is my number one.
Oh, my heart sank.
You know what may be a hot take? You want me to just say it?
Sure.
Okay. I think that Magic Johnson is the greatest point guard of all time, and I don't think that it's very close at all.
I don't think that's a hot take.
You don't think so?
I think that's pretty on spot.
I think that our top 5, 4, 3, and 2 are kind of running in a race, probably fairly close to each other.
Right.
I think Magic is a lap ahead of them. I don't know if there'll ever be a point guard that's
No.
better than Magic Johnson.
I can agree. And he has the stats to show it. Since I've been on a roll with the stats.
Do it.
Let's do it.
He's our what is it? A statistician? There's
He's
a word for that.
Statistician?
No, it's like a stash. It's not a stash. It's like a. I'm sorry. It's something like that. Somebody help me out. A statistician. I don't know. Go ahead.
Some help. 5-time NBA champ. 3-time MVP. 3-time Finals MVP. 10-time All NBA. Not to mention he was, All Rookie. 11.2 assists. This is a career.
Right.
906 and goals, and then 19.5 points.
Best
Magic.
point guard of all time. I don't think it's that close. I don't think anybody will ever be. I think he is to point guards what Michael Jordan is to basketball as a whole. I think I heard this said about Michael Jordan. I also heard it said about Serena Williams, who I think is a good example. But I don't know if anybody can be as good at something as Michael Jordan was at basketball, if that makes sense. Like, and Magic Johnson was that for the point guard position. Just a massive dude. The way that he was able to play, the way that obviously the effect, not only that, but some of the stuff that he's struggled with since playing basketball and everything that he's gone through and the Magic and Bird rivalry, which turned into like a really really cool and beautiful friendship between them. Just him as a guy and a player. Yeah. GOAT.
Did you
in
know
the point
that
guard.
the last season that he played when he came back after being sick, he was in the power forward position?
Oh, I'm sure that he played everything. I don't imagine. I'm sure he played center sometimes. It wouldn't surprise
Yeah.
me. He could probably body up dudes like it was no problem. And the hook shot, man.
The hook shot.
Ooh. Yeah.
Do you play do you play NBA 2K at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, speaking of that, my little brother,
Yeah.
we play 2K together a
Uh-huh.
good bit. And the team he uses, you ready?
Mhm.
Every single time, he uses the all-time Lakers.
Yeah. You
Have I
to.
ever beaten him?
No.
No. I can't.
No.
I cannot beat him because his starting five, there's not one player in his starting five that their rating is under 96, I think.
I thought it was going to be 99, so.
Yeah, no. I don't think Kobe's a 99.
I think the
I don't think Jerry
ultimate
West is a 99.
the ultimate just, go in it and play a game on 2K is like all-time Lakers, all-time Bulls.
Or Celtics maybe.
Celtics
too,
maybe,
But
yeah.
Bulls. Like even, dude, I've played with the all-time Bulls.
Yeah.
I played with the 15-16 Warriors. I played with the 16 Cavs. I played with everybody, man.
I
I
think-
can't beat him.
Sometimes when it comes to things like that, there's user errors.
Really?
Yeah.
You think?
Um,
No. Shout out to Josh Bell. You're trash, and I will beat you one
you're
day.
trash, Josh Bell. Josh Bell ain't gonna listen to us.
No, I love you. No, I think he might. He
He
might.
might.
That's our list.
That's our list.
Nick, why don't you go back through your top 10 really quick?
Okay. Number 10, I had Jason Kidd. Number 9, Russell Westbrook. We both had that at number 9. 8, Chris Paul. 7, Oscar Robertson. 6, Steve Kerr, which was a very hot take. You can hammer me for it. Number 5, Isaiah Thomas. Number 4, John Stockton. At number 3, Steve Nash. And then number 2, Steph Curry. And then number 1, Magic.
It's a good list. That's a good list. A lot of similarities, couple of differences though. Let me go
Yeah.
through mine. My list, number 10, I had Kyrie Irving. Number 9, I had Russell Westbrook. Number 8, I had Jason Kidd. Number 7, Chris Paul. Number 6, John Stockton. Number 5, Steve Nash. Number 4, Isaiah Thomas. Number 3, Oscar Robertson. Number 2, Steph Curry, Chef Curry. And number 1, Magic Johnson.
I said that at one point, very underlined. I was like, Chef Curry.
Yeah, Chef Curry.
Chef
What about a couple honorable mentions before we close it out?
So like you said, Rajon Rondo, honorable
Yeah.
mention. I don't know why we're laughing.
Because I couldn't tell if you were being sarcastic or not.
I kind of was.
No, he's an honorable mention.
No, he is an honorable mention. Who else, dude? I mean, like we said that we'd do at the beginning, if we were to cover guys that also, brought up the ball half the time, shooting guard / point guard, we obviously would have to name people like, MJ and LeBron and guys that,
James Harden,
James
Luka,
Harden,
probably. Yeah.
maybe some Kevin Durant in there.
Maybe Giannis.
Maybe Giannis.
Just kidding.
Giannis
It makes
is-
me furious when he runs the
His,
ball up the court because I'm like, why?
So, I don't know what it is with free throws and NBA players in the playoffs right now. But
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Homeboy's struggling.
Yeah, struggling big
send
time.
him some love.
Hey, look, if you're a little bit older and you're listening to this and you know of some really good point guards from back in the day, we apologize for not listing them. We're simply out of the loop. We did
We
do
are.
research, like just off the top of my head, like Penny Hardaway, Tim Hardaway Sr., those kind of
Right.
guys. I just thought of those two because they have the same last name. But there's different ones as well. But our top 10 list did go with a lot of research and consideration for sure.
Derrick Rose. We didn't talk about Derrick Rose at all. Like
I
guys like Derrick Rose, Tony
Yeah.
Parker, Damian Lillard.
Yeah,
Those
I
guys are-
think I will say that's a great one you brought up. Tony Parker was really close to being
Yeah.
in my top 10.
Yeah,
Derrick Rose, the injury.
it just killed him.
I mean, I think he probably could have been in the top 10, just the direction he was going.
Yeah,
But I can't put him in there
no.
because of
No,
that.
you
But
can't.
TP is amazing.
Yeah, He was somebody I really thought about.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think our top 10 point guard list is completed. How do you feel? We've gone through a couple episodes so far, man.
I feel good. I'm starting to realize, like, I was excited, but I'm starting to realize really how much I just enjoy this.
Yeah.
No, look, this has been so much fun. Thanks for listening so far with us. That's our top 10 list of point guards. And hey guys, look, rate us, review us once again. Please hit that subscribe button and share us with whoever. Follow us once
Follow
again.
us. Instagram.
Nick with the handles.
Rankers. The Rankers podcast on Instagram. Go ahead and look us up on YouTube, where you can watch our whole episodes after the fact.
Yep.
Obviously, you got Apple Music, we got Spotify, the Rankers podcast, guys. And don't forget to comment, because we want to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, we really do. We want to hear what you have to say. We're probably, one of the things we'll probably do with our Instagram followers is we're going to put out a poll and let them vote on which list they agreed with more.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a lot of fun between me and Nick, and the benefit of doing two different lists.
We're definitely going to be doing some like shorter polls that doesn't take a whole episode, but we might be like, hey, what do you guys think of this? Because you can rank things on Instagram as far as their polls go.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
but hey guys, that's it for this episode. We're gonna close it out.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much for listening, and we have had the best time ranking them.
We have. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.